guys, and welcome back to my channel. I have become a little obsessed with these signs that I've been seeing everywhere, and they're really the inspiration for the card that I'm going to make today. So let's just jump right into it. I'm going to be using this funky florals or funky Christmas florals. All the products are listed in the description down below. Has so many fun layered items in it that are just going to be so fun. And for the lettering, I'm using this Holtz Alphanumeric, I think it's called Classic. The size of each of the letters is 3/4 of an inch, and that really made it easy. I'm also going to use this wood grain stamp with some Delicata gold ink. To make the sign, we're going to use the scoreboard. And if you don't have a scoreboard, you can do the same thing with your paper trimmer just by moving your paper over and using your stylus or something. Using a couple of paper pads. One, I'm using this gold to create the outside of the frame. And then you can see I've cut lots of little bits from this Holtz Classic craft cardstock. So to cut out the frames, I wanted one in black and one in gold. I started by cutting out the base of the sign, and then to create the frame, I take the largest die that cut that, and then I'm going to cut out the inside. So I kind of looked through my nesting dies and figured out which one was about 1/4 of an inch and placed them together. Now I have them face down on my mat, and I'm going to use some washi tape or this is some medical tape that will just lightly tack them together. You want to tack all 4 sides so they stay really together really nicely. But you can create thinner, thicker frames. This is just a great technique to know. You can do that with any of your nesting dies. So I cut one in the black cardstock and one in the gold. And so I kind of have laid it out here, and I've pulled out all of my alphanumeric stamps that I want. I'm saying be merry, and I've checked out to see if the spacing is going to work, and I'm going to use some press and seal. I am a great believer in finding things in your kitchen and your garage to craft with, but press and seal is great. I've already got them all together. These are little dies and they're a little fiddly, and just being able to pick them up all together is really helpful. Did find that flipping it over and pulling the paper off the back is actually a better way to keep them all in place. But this little press and seal, it's not really even tacky. It doesn't leave any residue on the dies themselves. It just holds them in place because it's just slightly tacky. So I've removed all of the bits and pieces that I had together so that I could make sure that it was going to fit. And I have cut a piece of cardstock that is the same size as my background. I had another idea, didn't go with it, but that was what sometimes designs develop as we go along. So I'm pressing that onto the press and seal, and now I've gone and cut them all out on my Gemini mini die cutting machine, and I'm using a little pokey tool just to get it started. And then I'm going to pull all of them out and kind of get their placement set up on it, just so once again, let's now work on making all of our little die cuts. These are so fun. I made a whole lot of extra once I got cutting with these. I love how everything is encapsulated for one flower or one element. Every part of that one layer is there. And here's my idea, because I have so many little bits and pieces. I just took a old product bag that had the little flap on the bottom, and that's where I keep all my scraps. So it's right there. I look there first to see if I have what I need, and if I don't, then I go and cut new pieces. So I want to get the base of this is going to be red, so I'm going to just kind of mark it and cut out the piece that I need. And then this is a repeatable process. I do it over and over again for all the colors that are needed to make this one poinsettia die cut. So I double check that, and then I use the reference of the photograph, and I've cut all the little bits and pieces out that I need to go with that. By doing it this way, I'm actually going to get two poinsettias, because I'm going to get the red and the darker red. I can reverse those. So now I've cut all the bits for all the different various die cuts. I'm not going to end up using them all, but I cut them all and then I put them into this little container. I lose the bits and pieces so easily, and then once I get them made, I will put them in the little pink bowl, just so that they're not meandering on my work surface. Ask me how I know that this is a good idea. More than once I've come down to losing the one berry that I needed to put on something. So this is just my attempt to corral my mess and do it right. Now I'm going to show you here how to put the poinsettia together, and you're going to see that it was a learning process for me. I had looked at the reference, and I thought that the first thing you put on was the veining, and you're going to see that I have a little bit of a hard time finding where to put it. And the reason that it was hard to find the right rotation on it was because I thought that every one of those red petals would have a vein. And so I am trying like crazy. I'm just trying it every which way that I can. Can't figure it out. Finally go, oh, yeah, it goes this way. Okay. No, it's probably, the glue is probably dry. I've struggled so long to find it. I'm looking back at the reference again, and I'm like, okay, so the long one is going to go down here. So I finally figure it out, right? I am like gloriously happy. Oh, please tell me that you have had similar things happen to you. I'm so ready for the next thing, and I'm looking at it and I go, oh, huh, I think there was something else supposed to be on there first. I think those leaves were supposed to be on there. So I just take it off. That's the good thing about using Multi-Matte Medium by Ranger. First of all, it dries clear and matte. So even if it squishes out a little bit, you're not going to have a glossy, shiny glue residue. Obviously, I'm going to have to put some more on here. But once you put the green leaves on, all of a sudden, it's so much easier to figure out how the placement is supposed to go. The 4 long ones are down at the bottom, and the 2 short ones are up at the top. And it's easy peasy to put them together. And I just kind of use my tweezers. Those reverse pinch tweezers. I love them. They're just kind of so helpful in working with little fiddly bits. And I'm going to put a little dot on there. It goes in the center. And then there's another dot on top of that has the little 4 holes in it. So cute. These are so fiddly. Just needed to get that last little dot out of there. I'm going to put a little, way too much glue, by the way. Just way too much glue. On subsequent ones, I learned to put some glue out and dip them into it. But no problem, because it's the matte media, and I can use a baby wipe to wipe off the extra. So there you go. Is that not cool? So I got them all made. Here are all the things, and you'll see that I even created a few little extras because I had cut so many things. I had little extra bits, and I'm going to end up using one of those on my sign. So I'm going to have fun with other cards. Now let's work on making the sign. The first thing you want to do, depending on if you have used the same letters that I have, then you're going to score at 1/4 inch. But if you've used something like a different letter set, or you've used your like Silhouette or Cricut Maker to cut out your letters, you'll want to kind of put them up there and measure how tall they are. And so I figured for mine, because they were 3/4 of an inch tall, that I needed to do every 1/4 inch. And I found that pushing away from me actually helped keep it in place. This is smaller than a standard card because obviously this is going to be an element on the front of the card. So having it kind of back over there in the corner, I turned it around and just kept going. I found that being able to hold pressure out there on the left-hand side was really helpful, and so it worked better if I was going away from my body but holding onto it and pushing it up into that right-hand corner. Now we have our little sign just by doing that little embossing. I turned the light off so you could see the little ridges there, but simple little stroke of creating those lines. Okay, so now I'm going to layer up our frames. I'm starting with the black, again using multi-matte medium. I always say it wrong, but at least I'm saying it right. So just line it up. There you go. Put that down. Check it on the back to make sure that it's aligned well. And I just had a little ooze that I'm going to take out. No worries. Now let's add the gold frame. I know that most of the frames are white, but I thought because it's a Christmas card, I would do something totally fun, like make the frame gold and kind of festive. So I think that will be really fun. And you're going to notice that I'm going to definitely pull out my baby wipe to clean off the front of this because I had some glue on my fingers as I was touching it. And because this is a very shiny foil cardstock, it's the Craft Metallic cardstock by Tim Holtz. But I wanted it to be that mirror shiny, and even though the matte medium will dry matte, it would take away the shine. So cleaning it off when everything was done with the matte medium was really good. Now you see I finally get smart. I'm taking the letters to my little pile or dollop of adhesive, and I'm using the lines on the side to help me line everything up. And, I'm starting in the middle because the R is the very middle of Mary, and I want it to be right in the middle between the B and the E. And then I go out from the other side, either side, and add the letters in as well. There's so many things that you could do. You could make this bigger and you actually do one of those be calm and carry on, or be calm and have peppermint spice. I mean, there's just so many sayings. Just go on Pinterest. There's 100 gazillion sayings of them. I wanted my sentiment to just be simple. I wanted it to stand out and it really be the backdrop for these wonderful little die cuts that I've been wanting to play with those forever. Now you'll notice that in getting all of this done, and I'm going to accidentally lift up the R, but no worries, we can put it back. We have a little bit of open time. My Mary got a little over to the left, and you know what? I just have to live with it. I'm not gonna stress about it. So now I'm going to stamp a wood grain pattern on the back of onto the front of the card. So I turn it over on its back, and I'm actually putting the Delicata stamp ink pad on it. I take the ink to it. It's a lot. I want to be able to place the card. Now, it's not quite as wide as the card is, so I'm just going to run my fingers. It's really only important that I get it on the edges, all around the edges, because the sign is going to be in the center, and there's a little bit there left, so I'm just going to put a little bit on that one side and tap it down over the part that is still needing. So we're just going to just get a little bit, and there you have it. I dried it, and now I've put some foam tape on the back of my sign. Why use a little when you can use a lot? I didn't want the sign sagging in the center, so I just center it and put it in place. And now I'm going to have fun just arranging my dies that I have. I have way more than I need, and that's half the fun, just figuring out what you want where. The fact that Be Merry kind of moved over to the left a little bit is actually helpful, because I like having those little fern or cedar boughs kind of coming over down on the right hand side. Started out thinking I wanted these little I wanted 2 of those, and then I thought, well, maybe we'll put it up and I'll get some of these extra berries that I had cut from the holly set. I just cut extra while I was cutting them, and I love that I just had more of them. So had a different, realized that maybe it would look better if I kind of filled in, brought that branch up to kind of fill in that lower edge of the sign. It's all about just what makes your eye happy. And putting that little extra flower up there made my eye happy. Kind of gave me a little visual line, a vertical line, or a kind of a triangular line from the upper right to the lower left. And that makes it just visually pleasing and easy for the eye to see the important things. Now with these, I wanted to keep the ends of the boughs free so that they would kind of pop up. So I did that, and I'm now putting the poinsettia on in its place, and it will hold whatever extra is needing to be put there. It'll hold down the rest of those boughs, and you still have the little, not everything is just glued down flat. There's a little dimension and texture. So it's a good thing. And I'm going to pull this in here. Again, I only put glue on the upper part that needed to be stuck down, and left the bottom bough to be a little more free. And I'm not really loving how that came together, and I needed more glue, so I put a little more glue out. You know, it's either feast or famine with me. I either have way too much of something or not nearly enough. This time I thought I had been overly generous, but I still needed just a little bit more. So there you have it. By adding those 3 little berries down there, we've got this visual that pulls the eye from the upper right down to the lower left. I just think it's so much fun. And you can see the little lines in the sign. I want to invite you, if you are interested, to join me for Christmas Joy, my Advent journaling series. It begins December 1st, 2019. You can register by clicking a link down below. And here's the final project. So much fun, and I really appreciate you joining me. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe so that you're always up to date on what I'm doing next.